United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Councilman Hutchins, please.
Father, we come to you tonight just thanking you for this opportunity we have to be together to do the city's business. We just ask you'll give us wisdom in everything that we do. And I just ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Hutchins.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Caden.
Present. Thank you. Item 5, Declaration of Conflicts of Interest. Seeing any this evening, we'll go to item 6, Ceremonial Matters. A is presentation by Stancog regarding the Valley Vision Stanislaus alternatives. Carlos.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Newman City Council. Carlos Yamzan with the Stanislaus Council of Governments. Always a pleasure to get in front of the council here in Newman. I'm going to be very brief and let you know that we're here to do an update on some activities that we're engaged in for the Regional Transportation Plan. More specifically, it's called Valley Vision Stanislaus, and I'm going to turn it over to our consultant, Kendall Flint, to give you a quick update on this very important activity we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the audience. Again, I'm Kendall Flint, and here tonight to give you a brief overview of where we are with Valley Vision Stanislaus and let you know that we're at the point now where we're going to be introducing the scenarios for review by the public and also by this body. Hello. Okay, Mike, I promise I didn't break it. Okay. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about the planning effort, what's been done so far. I'm going to give you a brief overview about the outreach effort that was done over the last 7 months. I can't believe it's been 7 months, but it has. And then an overview of the 4 scenarios that are being considered at this time. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming workshops that will be happening over the next couple weeks. First of all, just to reiterate, Valley Vision Stanislaus is the regional transportation plan and the sustainable community strategy. The idea here is to figure out what the transportation investments are going to be countywide out through 2040. It represents a shared vision, so it's all the cities and the county working together, planning staff, elected officials, talking about what's going to be best for the area and the region in the years to come. Again, it's going to be fiscally constrained, meaning that we can't have programs or projects that we can't afford to pay for. So many of you know we did not pass Measure S. It means we've got a little less money to play with this time than we had in previous plans. One of the ideals with this is that it needs to preserve or emphasize the efficient use of the existing roadways, which means we need to maintain and take care of the roads, highways, connectors, all those kind of things that currently exist in the county. The plan will also have a prioritized list of projects that will be listed and included in the final, and it also has to reach established goals with regard to greenhouse gas emissions. Now, what happened in this new round, which is a little different than the last time, and we've talked about it before, we are now under Senate Bill 375, which means that we've got to consider land use with the transportation investments. And what that means is essentially that in the context of the plan, it's taking a look at where housing and development is going to occur in the region when we're considering transportation. It does not take over land use decisions, all those remain local, but the idea is to basically quantify those with the models to make sure that we're making good investments moving forward. As I mentioned previously, it does not supersede local jurisdictions, which means your circulation element, land use element, all the things you have here in place for the general plan in Newman will remain intact and will not be changed in any way unless you as a body choose to do so. In terms of the outreach, we've had a really busy few months. As I mentioned, we've been doing email blasts on a regular basis. We have a website that was created that is averaging about 1,000 visits every month. We've sent over 22 email blasts out to 20,000 residents countywide. We completed a vision survey, which we had over 300 participants participate in. We've also done a couple of web-based surveys based on our workshops, so if people couldn't attend our various workshops, they could participate online. Media relations, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of the local newspapers and radio reporting on this. We've generated over a dozen different stories with about 1.8 million impressions countywide, which means people have been able to see us. And over the past couple of months, we've had over 20 presentations and workshops like the one we did here in Newman. We've also, of course, made presentations to the Farm Bureau, to local Hispanic interests, to seniors, disabled, to all different other types of groups to try to engage as many people as possible into the process. Now, what did we hear from them? Well, every one of those meetings we went to, all 20, one of the biggest priorities for people was maintaining the existing roadways and making sure that we've got good things in place to relieve congestion. We also heard a lot of love for the preservation of agricultural land, which really goes to the very character and the economy in the region at this point. So there's a great deal of interest in making sure that those remain intact. One of the things we also heard from people is that they were very interested in talking about future growth patterns that might be slightly more compact than what we have today. Not in the way that you would see in, say, San Francisco or Chicago or major urban areas, but just slightly more compact in the character and context of what we see in the county. And finally, we heard a lot of people concerned all the time about the economy and how this plan and others might affect the economy in a positive or negative way. In terms of key concerns, and these are also going to be addressed, of course, in the scenarios, number one, of course, was project prioritization. What's going to go in the plan? What's going to be left out of the plan? There's also concern about the potential lack of funding for projects. As I mentioned, we have less money in this RTP, so there's going to be fewer programs and projects that could be incorporated. That being said, we're on a longer timeline, so it's not quite as draconian or painful as I think we thought it might be at the beginning. So it looks like we're going to be able to still have a good impact moving forward. Other concerns, the ability to relieve congestion. And there are some corridors here on the both east-west and north-south routes that people are very concerned about sitting in traffic and goods movement and just their ability to move through their communities. Again, there was some concern about economic factors. Will this plan put any type of undue burden on either manufacturing, business, or on individual property owners? Concern about local control, as I mentioned, and of course, concern about housing, which was kind of interesting. There's, I think, a little bit of a misinterpretation. This plan does not mandate housing. It basically takes a look at what the housing projections would be and then tries to project out models that figure how you would invest in transportation in order to accommodate that growth. But it does not mandate the construction of any housing, low, medium, high, or anything at all within the context of this document. And of course, there were questions about property rights, but we don't believe those are going to be at issue on this because we're really not looking at any type of eminent domain kind of a thing at this point. So the development of the scenarios, what is a scenario? Well, there are 4 of them. And each one is based on a land use theme, the idea of looking at a sort of thematic approach to the types of investment or combination of investment that we might consider moving forward. They are fundamentally based on the general plans that exist today in all of these cities and the county itself. And they are also developed in coordination with all the local agencies, so representatives from the planning departments of all the cities as well as the county, as well as the StanCog board and some of our stakeholder groups have all been actively engaged in talking about this and figuring out which ones are going to be most beneficial. And then, of course, the whole thing is guided by our public outreach effort. The scenarios have been tested or looked at how well they might perform based on a series of goals. And these goals are something also that were developed collaboratively with the various jurisdictions as well as the planning department and elected officials. There are essentially 7 goals that we're looking at in terms of how we're going to measure. The first being mobility and accessibility. That's how we move, looking at congestion and whatnot. Social equity, the ability of anyone in the county, regardless of their socioeconomic status, to be able to have access to transportation, and whether that's transit or buses or rail or cars, whatever that might be. Economic and community vitality, that would be to the extent that the investments in transportation help support economic development programs, business centers and whatnot that might be coming up in the years ahead. Sustainable development patterns. We're going to talk a little bit about how much land it takes per 1,000 people in order to accommodate that growth. Some types of growth patterns are more sustainable than others, and we're looking at ones that probably would be the best in order to preserve that agricultural land moving forward. Environmental quality is just what it sounds like. That's clean air, preservation of view sheds, of water, of all those type of things that contribute to the environmental health of the community. And safety and health basics, that's road safety, the amount of accidents you might see, as well as things like having more bike and ped trails that might lead to healthier people going out and biking and running and doing all that kind of fun stuff. And then finally, system preservation, which again is investment in the existing infrastructure, making sure that what we have is going to be maintained. So the 4 scenarios, number 1, historical trend. And I'd say I'm going to go through these relatively quickly, but just to reiterate, all this information is going to be available online and explored in more depth at our future workshops. But historical trend is looking backwards, how the county evolved, let's say, over the last 20 or 25 years, which tend to be a little more sprawl-like growing out. Second one is new trend. This is essentially based on the existing general plans for the city and the counties. So the idea of what kind of development patterns do each of the cities currently have in place and how those might look in the coming years. The third scenario takes a look at moderate change. What would happen if in the future we change development patterns to be slightly more compact? When I say slightly more compact, that applies not only to housing, but to where you place business, industry, recreation, any type of development. Would it be closer into the city, infill, on the edges, that sort of thing? And then finally, more change, which means you'd have a slightly more developed or more dense development that would concentrate more into the inner cities and less in growing out. So in looking at those, they're going to be kind of hard to see, I think, but on your monitors you probably have a better shot at them. My trifocals don't work as well as I would like from the distance. But mobility and accessibility, each one of these charts basically takes a look at some of the performance measures that we were talking about and says, all right, if we look at these, which one performs the best in each of these categories? For example, in this one, the amount of time that you would spend in congested vehicle miles in congested traffic is the least amount in denser development, and it's higher when we have the historic trend. But when you look at other things, sort of like the percentage of congested lanes, well, the historical trend and more change, those are the two where we still see the highest amount of congestion. So there's a lot of pros and cons for each of these you'll want to look at individually. Social equity, again, not surprising. If you have denser development, housing tends to be less expensive. If you have more spread out development, housing tends to be more expensive. There's also a lot of information here about the percentages of different types of housing stock and housing availability. I think what's important about when we look at this particular model is that no matter which one of these scenarios people choose to go with, they all have a diverse set of housing options. So no matter what happens, we're looking at places where we have large ranchettes, we have single-family homes, we have smaller units, and we have other types of things to accommodate those needs. In terms of economic vitality, pretty balanced on all four scenarios in terms of the job-housing balance. And in terms of the congested lanes, which we talked about a little bit earlier, there's a slight benefit to the new trend, which would be, of course, those that are on the existing general plans. When we talk about environmental quality, I think the headline on this slide is the bottom, which is the ability to reach the county-wide emissions budgets. Whichever of the scenarios move forward, based on the models at this time, they all meet the goals that we required by state law in order to be compliant with SB 375. There are definitely some benefits for different types of other investments depending on how you look at it, but we're going to be asking people what their preferences are as well as these folks. A sustainable development pattern, as I mentioned, the amount of land it takes to accommodate X number of people. So clearly, the least amount of land consumed is the highest density of development. That's really not surprising. But when you look at the other types of pieces in their overall residential density, the new trend and the slightly more compact, they're actually not that far apart. So that's something to consider when you're looking at what things you think might be best for the region. Health and safety. Same kind of thing here, not a whole lot of big difference with the exception of things like the investment in bike lanes. Depending again on which one of these you think is going to be most relevant, we'll be taking comments on that at the workshops. System preservation, this is the one that I think is most interesting to me, is that obviously historical trend, if we continue to grow out, that means there's more roadways being built, which means it costs more money to invest in those roads, which means that's what this demonstrates, that the maintenance dollars per lane is higher on the historical trend than it would be, say, on the more dense development, because, of course, you're compacting things in. A lot of information, I know, and what we're really hoping people do is come to one of our upcoming workshops. There are going to be 3 in the next 2 weeks. The first one is tomorrow night, and that will be taking place in the city of Patterson from 6:30 to 8:30. Next week will be in Oakdale from 6:30 to 8:30 on Tuesday the 20th, and then the following week will be in Ceres. If anyone cannot make one of these meetings, the entire workshop, as well as all of these in the background data, is available online. You'll be able to go on the website and weigh in with your comments and suggestions. So what will happen is after we finish this particular phase of outreach, which is presentations at all the councils as well as these workshops, we'll summarize that information and bring that back to both the Valley Vision Steering Committee as well as to the board itself. In September, the board will be looking at these scenarios and selecting a preferred scenario. Once that happens, then the environmental review will continue in high gear. If that was the case, there'll be more information and studies done looking at the impacts of those as they pertain to the California Environmental Quality Act. And we anticipate that the draft Valley Plan will be available sometime in November. That'll also go out for public review, and it will come back again in March for approval by the board. Again, as I mentioned, in order to keep up with all of this, and there is quite a bit, it's exciting stuff, I know, valleyvisionstanislaus.com, or you can also get information at stancog.org. With that, we're available to answer any questions you might have tonight. And again, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come back and catch you up on what we've been doing.
Is Kendall, any questions or comments of Kendall? Understand? Kendall, thank you so much.
Okay,
Carlos,
hope
thank you.
we'll see you all this week
Rosa,
at the
thank you,
workshop,
guys.
right? Because everybody
Thank you.
likes workshops.
Workshops are fun.
Yay, okay, thank you. And Mike, thank you so much. It worked flawlessly tonight, so appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Okay, before going any further, I forgot to report on our closed session report. Nothing is to be reported out this evening. Direction was given to staff and our legal counsel. Okay, we will move on to, we'll let everybody leave. Thanks, Carlos. Bye, Rosa. Item 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now it's time to, please step up to the podium and state your name and address.
My name is Benny Sanchez. I work at 1439 Main Street, Newman Barbershop. About 6 weeks ago, I asked Public Works to remove the city bench in front of the barbershop because of the amount of homeless people that basically stay there all day and all night and make a mess that I have to clean up every morning. They told me no, that the bench needs to stay because people are complaining that there's not enough places to sit down on Main Street. I thought that's what the plaza was for. So I'm having problems with them basically trying to strong-arm my customers in the morning while they're waiting for me to open up. They want money and cigarettes. And I need the bench removed because I'm tired of getting in confrontations with the homeless, and then they do damage to my barbershop when I'm gone at night. They throw soda on the window, they scratch the window with their keys or nails, whatever they have in their pockets. And I'm tired of the bench being there. I requested it 10 years ago when they had the streetscape, and town was in a better financial position then. There was less homeless on Main Street, but now it's just out of control, and I don't want the bench anymore.
Okay. Have you spoke with our staff or city manager about it? Have you come in and had some discussion with them about the problems?
I talked to someone from the Public Works office that he's no longer employed here,
Okay.
and he informed me that the bench was not going to be removed.
Okay.
And then I had an incident that I had to call the police, and I have a police report, and I gave one to the Public Works office as well, that I told them that my customers are uncomfortable waiting for me to open up in the morning with the homeless always bugging them. And I was told by an officer last week that came in the barbershop that said he was informed by his superior that the bench is not going to be removed.
Okay. Michael, is that something you
Mayor,
can?
this is a situation that we've been evaluating. The chief is involved in this one, so we're trying to get a hold of and verify some of these accounts.
Well-
Essentially, we have to, before we can remove a bench, we look into the situation to see if it warrants being removed, and that's the process that the current chief is going through right now.
Yeah, and I agree, and I hope staff will take a look at. I have to say, I see people there all the time, especially early in the morning, sitting on the bench, laying on the bench. There's one guy in particular with his bicycle that's laying there on the bench, and if you walk down our sidewalks, part of the issue I have is all the crap that's basically on sidewalk, whether it be gum, spit, cigarettes, or whatever. And I find it to be somewhat disgusting at times, but I know that there's a problem, and I know exactly what Vinny's talking about, because I have seen it myself. I've also I haven't been accosted. I don't think that they're man enough to do that, but I have been asked as I walk by there for money, cigarettes, that type of thing. So whether or not, and if it's affecting his business and his customer, I think we need to take a look.
And we are, and I think one of the challenges we have right now is Officer Williams had to be moved to one of the shifts, and because we have an officer on light duty that he's coming off, we think, in the next week or two, which will now put her back into the full downtown into the full-time basis like it was. I think this gentleman here has indicated that she's actually done a pretty good job in that area that he's at, but she's been gone for a number of weeks now, and I think that's where maybe they've come back to his area, is what it sounds like.
Benny, just continue to work with our staff, the city manager and the police chief, and hopefully we'll bring some kind of resolution. I don't know that the bench is going to be removed. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I certainly don't want your business to be hurt either, and I've witnessed it firsthand, so hopefully we can work something out and get some kind of resolution to it.
Okay. When Officer Williams was patrolling Main Street, it was fine. It's at nighttime, when she's off shift, they know when to come back when it's dark, and they can blend in a little bit better, and they sit there all night spitting sunflower seeds and leaving their soda cans. And it seems like when Officer Williams is off, they're on Main Street. They like to be there during lunch hour and dinner hour because they know that's when the heavy traffic is, and they can panhandle, and they can ask for money and leftovers when the people are coming out of the restaurants. And she's not on duty 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and it's tough, because, our police officers have, a whole city to try to patrol and take care of, so, but I'm sure that they make frequent downtown pass-bys and through, so I just continue to work with our staff and our police department, and hopefully try to bring some kind of resolution to it.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Thanks.
I just had a question. I know sometime back we talked about benches being placed in strategic areas for different things, but when I look at that bench there, there's nothing, it's in front of Benny's shop, there's a bar next door, and I believe the store next door to that's closed. So I would ask staff to see why we placed a bench at that particular spot on the street.
Yeah, that's an original location. I guess I can go back to maybe members of the original Streetscape and ask them. That's an original bench location, so we'd have to go fall back to that.
Well, and there's,
Could it be moved?
Yeah, then I would think there's some, if you move it, does it move the problem, as well?
And I think I believe Mr. Benny indicated originally it was something that was an amenity to his business. It's just with the influx of homeless people that have come into the community within the last couple of years, I think that is when it's turned from an amenity to something that is now having an
Because
impact
Michael,
on-
I don't think, from what I've seen, the general citizen public downtown uses those because of
The people.
who's using them, and I know that they don't get cleaned, it's disgusting around them. I've seen them just sitting there and spitting between their legs, and, so I would be in favor, if we did anything, I'd be in favor of just removing all benches from downtown, period, and just be done with it. That's just my opinion, The one in front, I know at the corner of Tulare and Main Street gets a lot of use of people there in front of the beauty salon. But the ones that in front of Benny's business and the one across the street in front of,
Across from St. Clair Corner.
what's it? Long Wayne, those two seem to be the two focal points of the, quote, homeless people that hang out there, sleeping on the benches at night. I know there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but I think if it distracts from our downtown area, and if they're bothering our citizens, which I know they do, because I've been hit on myself, and so I think that my opinion is, I think we need to take a serious look at it, and if those, I wouldn't say those benches will not be removed. If it's an issue, then maybe we ought to remove them.
I'll work with the chief and Officer Williams, and we'll come up with some
Thanks.
alternates for the council to consider and move forward.
Yeah, we're really hurting our merchants, and that's a sad thing, because, it's tough enough if you're a merchant, and when you have people like that disturbing your business, it's just not a good thing.
It's a proximity, too.
Yeah.
It's right next to that alleyway that goes into the back,
Yeah,
that parking area, so they come out of the back,
right there.
they have easy access, so, yeah, I've seen it, too. It can be disgusting at times.
So we'll look into it, Benny, and we'll have our staff will look into it and work with the police department, and we'll try to come up with some kind of plan. Again, don't know that removal is going to happen. It might, but we'll take a look at it.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you for your time.
You bet. Mr. Naveau, you have something to say? Who's manning the cameras?
It's on automatic.
Bob Navoa, 1335 Main Street. It's sad that an amenity that the community worked so hard to place, and as most of you know that have been here in length of time, there were a lot of benches down on the Main Street. And we even had to request the one in front of our store on Main Street to be removed. And also the one when we were on Fresno Street, that was also removed. And for the same reason, because they're now a liability. And it is sad because we had a vision for Newman the way we wanted it to look, and yet we have these folks coming in that really contribute little or nothing to the community and are dictating what we're having to do. And that's a sad state of affairs. And certainly I encourage you to continue to protect the merchants, because obviously without them there is no town.
That's right.
And just another little soapbox that I'm going to stand up on real quick is downtown parking. I know that it's always very convenient to just pull your car up and park in front of a merchant and assume that it's okay, and it might be. I know it's legal, but I think people need to take a real close look at what they're doing to the merchants when they do that. There is a big parking lot, and those same folks could be parking in the parking lot. I had a red pickup in front of my store all day yesterday, and the person sitting in the pickup doing whatever paperwork and all that they needed to do and making trips to various places, and they weren't making purchases because they just had paper. And it's happened before, and I went out and talked with this person, and they said, you know, you're right, it is a public parking space, and I'll park here as long as I choose. There's nothing else I can do. There's nothing that police can do, because I know we don't have any ordinances to patrol that. And we don't certainly have the funding to hire meter maids, and we don't have meters to begin with. But hopefully, people will respond to the request of not only one merchant, but all the merchants, when I say, please, if you need to be in the downtown for more than 30 minutes or more than loading and unloading, please use the parking lot, because you're impacting all the merchants. Even if you're just in one spot all day long, it impacts everybody, because that person is taking up a parking space for another business, and those people are parking in front of our business or somebody else's business. And so our customers drive by, oh, no place to park, I'll go to Modesto. And we all know that happens. And so, again, I would just encourage all the folks out there to keep us in mind, because if that continues to happen and we go out of business, and the next time you come downtown to go to a business, you're going to go, well, what happened to them? They couldn't stay in business? Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Just, and that was one thing I was going to ask, is I know that we have in the past removed benches for the very item that Benny talked about.
We have, and we didn't tell him we weren't going to remove it. We told him it was under consideration. We wanted to, we're going to do our due diligence. Every time we get a request, we don't automatically just rip something out. We evaluate it. The police department looks at it through their different shifts, and then we make a decision.
Well, I think you got some validation, Michael, from council members also who have seen it. So I think we need to give it a serious look and do something.
I had a quick question. Downtown, I don't know how the lighting is. I know it's pretty, in that one particular area, it's pretty dark there. And I don't know if lighting would help. And lighting normally, you know, it helps when some things, activities are going on that people don't want to be sitting someplace where there's a light present, you know, and everyone can see what they're doing.
There's a neighboring business that really contributes.
Well,
to the
absolutely.
problem, so.
And I say, like I said, I don't know that, you know, other than the one down at Main Street in Tulare there by the beauty salon, that does get a lot of use, but it's right there in that on the intersection, so we don't get the homeless people hanging out and sleeping on that bench, much like we do on the south end of town.
The three at Tulare tend to get the most. Napa, the one on the corner, tends to get a lot, and Pioneer gets a lot. And they're generally families waiting for someone to come out of Pioneer.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe we could, you know, relocate a couple of those, and because suddenly, you know, obviously the ones who stumble out of that one business we refer to, only time they might sit on that bench is if they trip over it and fall over it, possibly, you know, but I think we need to give that some serious consideration.
But there's one, that they're also at the back of that little parking lot right there. That's a hangout for, right there in that little shed. I know I picked up a few of them when I was on duty, and I'm sure Ed, you did too, and I know the chief has. And what they do is they wait till the officer leaves, and they come up and they lay down on that bench, and they stay there, and I go through there at 11 o'clock at night, and there won't be anybody there. You come back 15 minutes later, and they're laying on the bench. So, that particular area seems to draw them from everywhere for some reason. That's all I've got to say about it.
Thanks. I think that's been said, so let's move on to item 8, consent calendar. A is waive all readings of ordinances by resolution except by title. B is approval of the warrants. C is approval of the minutes of the July 23rd, 2013 meeting. And D is approval of 2013/2014 CDBG allocation agreement.
I move we approve the consent calendar as read.
I second that.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, public hearing. We don't have any this evening. We'll go to 10, regular business. A is report on appointments to the Park and Recreation Commission. Michael? Or Stephanie, or?
I'll take this one, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you. Tonight we have actually 2 actions for the council to consider. The first would be the removal of a rec commissioner who has attended one meeting since their appointment and has been habitually absent ever there since. And the second would be to consider appointment of 2 new rec commissioners to serve those terms. It's been a number of years, over 2 years, since we've actually had a full quorum. And then the rec commission cannot operate that way because some of the members have jobs and a few other things that prevent them. So there's a lot of times where the meeting will get canceled because we can't get the full quorum there. As you recall, it's been a few weeks, but this board, this council has sent an item down to the rec commission for them to evaluate and to come back to you with some recommendation. And those recommendations are really dealing with what we call organized team activities or outside team activities. And really, that's been manifesting throughout the valley as travel sports have become more and more popular. What we have in our particular community is we have a number of travel soccer teams that play teams from other communities, and they compete with our local recreational teams for practice space. So how do we deal with those? Currently, those are not permitted within our parks. So we've sent that item down to the rec commission to evaluate that and see if they can come up with some solutions that would allow these teams to have activity time in the parks while allowing our recreational leagues like baseball and soccer, which soccer is just starting, to not compete with one another. So with that, we actually have 2 applications for rec commissioners, and at this point, subject to the first action, we have 1 current vacancy. A second vacancy would be created should the council consider removal of the absentee the recreation commissioner, excuse me. So with that, I can answer any of your questions. I know both of the gentlemen are here tonight.
Well, let's deal with the first action. Obviously, I think, anybody who's appointed to a commission, it's an important seat to fill, and the Recreation Commission is just as important as any other commission in our community, and you have to have a quorum to meet and take care of business. So I'm in concurrence. I don't know about the rest of you as far as the removal of the commissioner mentioned. Does it just take council action just to do that?
Yes.
A motion?
Motion, yes.
I'll make a motion that, is it Maria Evans, is that the name?
Correct.
Be removed from her position on the Recreation Committee based on Municipal Code 2.03.040C.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's deal with the next item. So that creates 2 vacancies.
Correct.
We have 2 applicants.
That's correct.
Murray, what brings you to Newman? From Waterford?
Well, it's been an interesting experience.
For if you don't know, Murray served on the city council in Waterford for a very long time, so he knows what this is all about.
Yes. I'm Murray Day. I live at 739 Gibraltar Lane here in Newman. We've just been here in town, actually, about 4 weeks now. I served 4 years on the city council in Waterford and served on a number of subcommittees there involved with Parks and Rec and Parks creation and that kind of thing. To answer your question about why I came to Newman, it's a long process. We actually started looking at Newman in September of last year, and we've actually looked at homes here for about 9 months before we actually found a home. My son-in-law grew up here in over on Mitchell Road. His mother is a Lopes and related to probably half the people here in Newman, and was involved with the Lopes dairies out on Lundy and out in that area. And Henry has inherited a 50-acre parcel just above Crow's Landing, and they plan to build their home there. And so right now we're joint family here in Newman. As I said, we looked for a long time. We looked at Newman because of where it's located. We looked at Newman because of the environment in the community. We've made many trips down here. We came down and attended the FFA breakfast back in the fall. I was telling the chief earlier, I've had encounters with a couple of his officers to ask questions and gather information. Been very responsive, very, very pleased with what I'm seeing from the police department.
He was brought up
understand-
right, you know. He was trained quite well.
Oh, you trained him?
I just happen to know who trained him.
Ah, okay, perfect, perfect. But yes, I've been very active with the Waterford City Council. We were successful in applying for and receiving a grant for $1.5 million for the completion of the river trail along the Tuolumne River. It runs about 2.5 miles from the eastern edge of town, right along the bank of the river, down to the western edge of town. That'll be a biking and hiking trail for the citizens of our community there. We're right now in the process of completing the environmental impacts. There will be non-motorized boat access to the river along there, and fishing and swimming hole for the kids, things of that nature. So we were also instrumental in participating with the Waterford Improvement Team in developing a new park in the northwest corner of our town where there was no park facility available for the young children with slides and climbing apparatus and that kind of thing. It's called Brethren Park, and we were able to do that primarily with grant money that we've been able to obtain through the city. We've used grants extensively. We made about a $30,000 investment. I believe the same grant company you folks use. We've made about a $30,000 investment, and we've gained over about $3 million back in grants. Our downtown project was completely covered through grant process. We built a brand new city hall, paid for, thanks to the planning of many of our council members over the years and currently the current council. Very proud of that new facility. So yeah, I've been pretty involved in the town, and I told Tim Ogden, get a hold of Mike Holland down there so I can go and talk to him, because I want to get involved in Newman. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I'm glad you did, thanks.
Okay, any questions?
We're going to give Michael his equal time.
Okay, fine. All right.
Since we have 2 seats, I don't think there's going to be much discussion. But, Michael, I would feel remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to get up and...
I'm losing my voice, sorry.
It's going to be short then, right?
Yeah. I've been looking for a vacancy on one of the city's commissions, and this came up, and I'm really interested in contributing more. I'm currently working with the city's Chamber of Commerce, and recently got elected to the Newman Friends of the Library, so I've helped participate with them. So I'm just interested in
Great.
helping out.
Good.
Sorry.
Okay, council direction.
Mayor, before,
Yes.
just quickly, the seat that was vacant before we came into this meeting expires January 2015. The seat that has become vacant due to action item number 1 expires in January of 2016. So any motion or any action should help us by placing one in each of those
Okay.
specific vacancies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should we just ask which one, either one of them wants? Would one of them rather come back or go to the 2015 one and one of them the 2016?
You want 15 or 16? I'll go 15.
Okay.
That's fine.
I mean, let's make this easy.
Yeah, easy's good. Okay, so we need a motion to reflect the appointments.
I'll make a motion that I don't know about this Murray character, but I've known him for quite a while too, that we appoint Murray Day to the 2016 expiration date and Michael Thompson to the 2015 expiration date of the Recreation Commission for the City of Newman.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And thank you, gentlemen, for stepping up and volunteering. We appreciate it, and I'm sure you'll do a great job of that commission. And it is an important commission in our community. Stephanie needs all the help she can get. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to item B, is consider approval of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, relating to its fiscal year 2012-2013 past activity, and open the 15-day public comment period. Steph?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you is a request for consideration of approval of the 12-13 CDBG CAPER, open required public comment period, and set public hearing for September 10th. The CAPER describes the outcomes of the previous year's CDBG projects. The CAPER consists of accomplishments, assessments, and required HUD reporting requirements. The CAPER is required by HUD on an annual basis, and each member city must consider approval in order to remain in good standing with the consortia and with HUD. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council consider approval of the CAPER, release the report once it's available from the county, and set the public hearing for September 10th. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments of Stephanie? Council direction? Need a motion to open the 15-day period?
Come on, Bob.
Did everybody jump at once?
Yeah. I so move that we consider approval of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPERS, relating to its FY 2012-2013 past activity and open public comment period.
Second.
And set the public hearing?
Excuse me, and also set public hearing for December 10th, 2013 at 7 p.m. or thereafter to close public comment period and consider approval of the draft Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, adopt resolution number 2013, next number, awarding the Escape Plaza Design Services Contract to Odell Engineering and authorize city manager to execute the agreement. Steph?
Hello again. Before you is a resolution to award the Skate Plaza design. In 2008, AB 2494 was adopted, creating the HRPP grant program. The grant awarded park-related funds to jurisdictions who provided affordable housing within certain parameters. The city was awarded the Housing-Related Parks Program grant in the amount of $144,825 in 2012, of which $104,825 was earmarked for the skate park/plaza. Skate Park Committee was created and began meeting in January of this year. They meet on a monthly basis. Through their meetings, a skate plaza project has been envisioned. An RFP for design services for said plaza was released on July 1st. 4 bids were received and opened on July 25th. The bid amounts ranged from $38,963 to $52,286, as seen in the staff report. A 4-member RFP review committee graded the 4 RFPs with the scores, further staff review, and budgeting constraints. Odell Engineering was identified as the lowest responsible bidder with a bid amount of $38,963. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 2013, next to number, awarding the Skate Plaza Design Services contract to Odell Engineering and authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Staff is here to answer any questions that council may have.
Questions or comments to Stephanie?
I just have one question, Stephanie. How many skate parks has Odell Engineering actually designed?
You know what, I forgot to bring the RFP with me, and that was something I meant to do, but I believe that they identified a minimum of 3 in the RFP. They are actually using a subcontractor called Spawn Ranch, that's all they do is design skate parks. So they have a very qualified sub to do the actual design work, and they will be doing the engineering for the design.
Okay, so
But they're the
there
lead.
is somebody involved that actually does
Yes, Spawn
skate
Ranch
parks.
is completely skate parks, that's all they do.
Great. Motion?
Make a motion we adopt resolution number 2013, next number, awarding the Skate Park Plaza Design Services contract to Odell Engineering and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
I second that motion.
In the amount of $38,963.
Exactly.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
D, adopt resolution number 2013, next in number, awarding the bid of a half-ton pickup to Bonander Buick GMC. Luke?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Newman City Council. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing the purchase and awarding a bid on a pickup truck for the fire department. Our last pickup for the fire department was purchased in December of 2000, and that truck will continue to be utilized by the fire department. We advertised for bids with the fire department specifications for 3 weeks and received 5 bids. The lowest responsible bidder that met the specifications was Bonander Buick GMC in the amount of $28,090.91. We budgeted $32,000 in our current fiscal year, leaving us about $4,000 under budget. The Newman Volunteer Fire Department is willing to pay for the upfit on the vehicle, including the light bar, badging, and storage box. Staff recommends adopting a resolution awarding the bid for the half-ton pickup truck to Bonander Buick GMC.
Any questions or comments, Lou? I'm just curious, on the other 3 that says did not meet specs, what criteria did they not meet?
A couple of different things. One was the engine size. They quoted smaller than what the fire department had recommended. And the other was, some of them quoted an extended cab versus a crew cab. And as you know, the extended cab is the one where you've got to pop open the front doors to get the smaller side door open. It's much easier to get 4 full-grown people in the 4-door crew cab.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Council direction.
I'd make a motion that we accept or adopt resolution number 2013, next to number, awarding the bid of a 1/2-ton pickup to Bonander Buick GMC in the amount of $28,090.91.
A motion, and is there a second?
I second that motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Lou. Okay, moving right along. Go to item 11, items from District 5 Supervisor Jim DeMartini.
Good evening, Mayor Caton, council members. The Health Summit is scheduled for August 22nd. Everything seems to be on order in that. I was working on it a little bit today. We have 7 teams and 12 vendors. So we expect this to be a successful event. There's going to be some articles in the paper about it, and we've done some advertising. I've talked to Blues Cafe today about the meals. The Ag Commissioner this morning, he's coming out to do the official weights. So everything Seems to be going along just as we expected with that. Certainly appreciate the city of Newman making the West Side Theater available to us for this is our fifth time, so each year we get a little bit better at it. So we look forward to the competition, and we have a good speaker at the Health Summit. And, we invite the public, there's no charge, and we do provide some lunch. So it's a nice event. The way out will be 8 weeks later in Patterson at the school district office. We are, after this event is over, we will start working on our calendar and essay contest. This year's theme is Eat Smart, Keep Moving. As you know, in the past, we've had the elementary school children make drawings, and then we put a calendar together. We also have an essay contest for 7th and 8th graders. I have presentations scheduled in all 3 school districts, Newman, Patterson, and Gustine, next month to get the board's buy-in on that. So those, I don't know the dates offhand, but they're all set on my calendar. And the last thing, I'd mentioned it before, a few weeks back, but since you had your Parks and Rec people come here, the county still has a vacancy, and I think it's been open for the last 3 months now for Parks and Recreation Commissioner for District 5. Adrian Cheney, who was the Parks Director of Patterson, has moved out of state, leaving that seat open. The Parks Commission meets once a month on the second Thursday at 5:30. So if you know anybody's interested, we'd like to talk to them. This deals with county parks, but in District 5, we have Laird Park, we have Grayson Park, Frank Raines Park, and then, countywide, there's other ones too, at the reservoirs and around the county. So it's a good commission. I've attended their meetings most every month. So anyway, that is available for anybody who lives in District 5. If they're interested, I'd like to talk to them. Okay, and that's all I have this evening.
Any questions or comments for Jim? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Go to items from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a couple of reminders. This Thursday at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers, we will be having a planning commission meeting. The topic will be SCM homes. They're looking at doing a modification to their PD, which is the high-density project across from the Sherman Park. They're looking at making some modifications there and changing how that layout is. So those will go to the planning commission first and then ultimately come to the city council for final approval. On 8/17, we will be having our last outdoor movie night. Oz the Great and Powerful will be played at Sherman Park, and again, that's always at dusk in that 8 o'clock hour. And as you know, we open up the snack bar 2 hours in advance, and we've been getting pretty good crowds this year. Ms. House has done an excellent job of making sure the word's gotten out, and more and more people have been showing up. I believe this is our third year, fourth year of doing that. So it's just something that I think the community has grown to like. So. As our supervisor indicated, we do have the Biggest Loser coming up, and Newman will be providing 2 teams this year, one led by the police department, and the other will be primarily Public Works Department. So there'll be a little bit of in-house squabbling going on to see who's going to bring the first trophy back to Newman. So we'll be excited to see how that works out. Soccer practices have begun. So I know that some of them started last week and some are starting this week, but our recreation soccer has started. First games, I believe, are September 14th.
September 14th, and we have about 325 kids.
So, yeah, it's a good turnout. So, thank you for what we did with the Rec Commission tonight, because a couple important ones that are coming up. As you know, the one with the organized sports play is very important, and you've passed that down to them. Also, they'll play a role in the design of the skate park. And then lastly, we're hoping to take something to them on the master plan process that's moving forward up in the northwest quadrant, and showing them a final plan of where the parks and trails and all that go once we get that solidified. So, And then lastly, just want to welcome Perfecto Milan today. Perfecto is the one who's serving as our interim Public Works Director. And that position, applications for that position closes this Friday. So we'll be evaluating where we're at that point. So can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions or comments from Michael? Nope. Welcome, Perfecto.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to staff. Might as well start with you, Perfecto. Got anything for us this evening?
Boy, you got moved down the list, did you?
Well, I thought I'd just go from left to right this time.
We completed the yellow crosswalks around schools last week, utilized a total of 60 gallons of yellow paint. And we're moving forward with the, white paint. We normally start around the schools, go downtown, but when the fall festival is it's about to begin, we're doing downtown, then we move to the subdivisions. Canal School, an update on Canal School, I met with PG&E. It's in progress, the street light's in progress, they're gonna assess, working, they give us power to connect our street light. The yellow flashing light has been ordered.
Are they going to be the two alternating lights, or is this going to be one single light?
It's a single light. The yellow flashing light's a single light. It's powered by a solar panel.
Okay.
It takes about 4 weeks to get here. It was ordered last week. And Kirk Souza from PG&E is supposed to get back to me this week or next week as far as where can we possibly get the power to plug in the street light. And it's that time of the year again. Next Monday, we'll be starting prepping for a fall festival. Our staff will be working at Pioneer Park till the festival's here. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Perfecto. Any questions or comments?
Mayor, and at your last meeting about the garage on Mariposa, Perfecto and his crew were able to demolish that and get that done, I believe, yesterday.
Great.
We were just waiting for Berlotti to bring in the bin, and that has been brought in, it's been demolished. So,
Great.
I know that was important for the council to have done prior to the fall festival, and it's now complete.
Good deal. Thank you. Lou? Stephanie?
Just one thing. Today, the city completed our required Prop 84 training. That was for our non-motorized transportation plan, part of the RST toolkit. So I, quote-unquote, trained the other member cities about how to put together a non-motorized transportation plan, provided them with exhibits and templates, so that way it'll be part of the toolbox that the whole county can utilize. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments of Stephanie? We say the best for last, I guess. Chief?
Absolutely. Before the competition begins, I'd actually like to thank Perfecto for promptly getting on that garage. If we would have had to go out to an outside company, it could have taken weeks, and we probably wouldn't have got it done before the festival. So I'd like to thank him and his staff for promptly getting on that.
Great.
I don't have anything else.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate
I
it.
have a question, Chief.
Okay.
Chief, you have to be commended, and your police officers have to be commended. You know, we had this police action in Newman. And just everything I read, of course, I wasn't there. I stayed home and stayed in my house. But I just think professionalism, we shouldn't take these things for granted, because the training that they get from wherever they get their training prevents them from getting injured and prevents other people. So thank you, and thank all your men and women that do the job of protecting our city.
We would like to thank the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, their SWAT team, hostage negotiation team, Gustine Police Department, our fire department, a lot of Public Works came out.
Yeah.
There was a lot of groups involved in it, worked out very well. It was a very successful outcome. No one was injured.
Great. Okay. Don, we'll start with you.
Just, the only thing I have is, everybody remember school's back in here, so stay off of Jensen Road early in the morning.
Watch out for the little ones.
Okay.
I don't have anything tonight.
Nick?
Nothing from me.
Bob?
Just like to thank Murray and Michael for coming forward. We need people like you to hit up this recreation group, because we need to give it some credibility, and I think it's really important, and I think you bring that to the table. And so thank both of you.
Great. Thank you. I concur with Bob's remarks. It's good to have people step forward, so appreciate that. Just have just a couple of things. I still have the application for the Fall Festival Parade for council participation. Does everybody still plan on participating in the parade this year? Perfecto would be a possibility for us to grab the electric vehicles again.
Absolutely. We have issues with one, but hopefully by then it'll be taken care of.
That'd be great. So we'll try to do that, and I'll get the application submitted to the Fall Festival Committee, and so we can participate in that again. And the Fall Festival activities start real quick, so we'll get that done. I just have one last thing, and it's more for our supervisor, and Jim, I'd just like to encourage you and the rest of the board of supervisors. We've been haggling with this property tax administration fee for quite some time. As the mayor of Newman, I would just like to encourage you and the rest of the board of supervisors, not only do what's fair, but what's right by the cities, and come to some kind of agreement. This has been going on for quite some time. I know the cities have gotten together and talked about some issues, and I think there'll be something brought before the board here fairly quick. I hope the board will take a serious look at doing the right thing, and what's fair and what's right for the cities. And, just in the spirit of continuing to hear how we should work together and do things together and be on the same page, this is certainly an issue that we have not been on the same page, and that I think the county has not treated the cities fairly in respect to the monies that's due to them. So I would hope that you, as our supervisor, might take the lead with the rest of the supervisors and try to bring this to some kind of conclusion and what's fair and what's right to the cities. Okay, with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
It's adjourned.
Second?
Okay.
No second, we are adjourned.